Hi there, and welcome back to another episode of the Fintech Diaries. If this is your first time tuning in, hello. My name is Jack Turrell, and I specialize in financial technology recruitment in the UK. Over the last number of months, I have had the privilege of hosting some of the brightest minds in fintech to talk about a range of different topics. Today, I was joined by Jason Abbott, and he's the director of fraud solutions at Provenir. And Provenir are a company that are leading the charge in tackling fraud in today's digital world. In this episode, we explored how technology is transforming the financial services landscape. I suppose not just for consumers, but actually for also for criminals who are exploiting AI and advanced tools. Jason also shared his insights into Provenir's innovative approach to fraud detection, the role of data and AI, and actually how their technology is shaping a safer, more secure digital ecosystem. Finally, we also took a closer look and offered a sort of behind the scenes look at the tools, platforms, and talent and cloud infrastructure that's driving Provenir's success. Whether you are a fintech enthusiast, a technologist, or simply just curious about how technology is fighting financial crime, this episode is for you. Good evening, Jason. Hi, how's things? Thanks for joining me today.
I'm good, thanks. Good to see you.
And you, sir. We'll just get stuck into question one. Before we dive into learning, more about Provenir, etc. I was keen to, I suppose, walk everybody through, who are you, what's your background, particularly into sort of tech, and what led you to focus on fraud solutions as a role.
Sure. Hello everyone. My name's Jason Abbott. I'm the Director of Fraud Solutions at Provenir. My background is 17 years of fraud experience, and within this experience, it includes working within the corporate, wealth, and retail businesses. I've worked on transactional fraud, internal fraud, and application fraud. During my time in the industry, I've worked at 3 large banks and 2 software vendors now. And what led me to fraud? I was actually a victim of application fraud when I was young, which probably steered my career slightly. But what happened is I'd moved out from my parents, and then suddenly I got a call to say you've got loads of letters turning up. And it turns out a criminal had opened 4 or 5 mobile phones in my name. And I was left to tidy up the mess. So it was quite a stressful time, and it took a lot of time to resolve and put right. And then I end up finding myself working in the application fraud space myself.
Amazing. Wow. And when it comes to Provenir, what is Provenir, and I suppose what is the business's approach to tackling fraud in today's digital world then?
Sure. So I'll start with talking about Provenir because we do much more than just fraud decisioning. So Provenir is a leading AI-powered risk decisioning platform that helps organizations make smarter, faster, and more effective decisions. We started in the credit risk decisioning space 20 years ago now, but today our decision platform also provides the abilities to manage customer lifecycle, collections, and of course application fraud. The company is global, which means we serve customers worldwide, and the platform consists of data orchestration, risk decisioning, and of course case management. We have a marketplace of over 130 partners, and all of these include pre-built connectors to help our customers deliver results fast. And I like to describe our platform as the Swiss Army knife for risk managers. However, I would say it's modular, so you don't have to take all of the tools. Quite typically, customers would perhaps onboard with the main solution that they were looking for, and over time build it up and add to it until they're happy with the platform solving all their problems. So now I'll talk about fraud specifically. So Provenir enables our customers to remove silos within their business. We provide flexible orchestration, which empowers our customers to decide what data or endpoint solutions they decision with. Okay. One of the things we do to help them out is that we don't have a predefined schema. So this removes a lot of limitations around data usage and helps our customers react quicker to new fraud trends. Because it's quite common in the fraud space for a data point to be completely useless yesterday, but tomorrow it's the answer to a new attack, and it's something that you want to use, and without it you could be in trouble. Yeah. We enabling customers to have richer data means that they can deliver more complex, targeted rules to deliver an effective fraud strategy. Because when you take a more blunt approach, the negative of that is it means that you're going to impact more genuine customers. And false positives really is a kind of hot topic for all fraud managers out there in the industry. We also enable customers to upload their own models, meaning that all of our customers' internal data science teams can help deliver results too.
Fantastic. How would you say, I mean, like, how has technology transformed the consumer experience within sort of financial services, would you say?
So I always like to compare kind of where we are now to 2010. Because when you say 2010, it doesn't seem that long ago. However, let's just compare kind of what a journey might look like, or what the consumer expectation would be for like opening a bank account as an example today. So back in 2010, I probably sat there with my BlackBerry mobile phone and I applied for a product on a PC, or I went into a branch. From an ID&V perspective, I was probably looking at either bureau data or taking real physical documents into a branch to be manually checked by a person. Accounts took a few days to open. When they were open, I probably waited 5 days for the card and PIN to arrive until I could use it. And then when I made a payment, it took 3 days until the payment cleared. So that was 2010. Fast forward to now, I apply for the account on my smartphone. I complete ID&V on the same device. I get a real-time decision, instantly add my card to my digital wallet, and then make a payment that clears instantly. So not a lot of time has passed, but look how different the consumer journey is. And the challenge here is it's become an expectation from the consumer. And this has put a lot of pressure on financial services, as there's a lot less room for error and no time for additional investigation. And also, consumers don't tend to be loyal to a brand. So if you're in a customer journey that asks you to visit a branch, there's a big chance that that person may say, oh, I don't have time for that, and move on to the next brand. And obviously that gives you a kind of a competitive disadvantage. So lots of pressure to deliver the digital journeys. And obviously with that pressure comes a lot of new challenges. Digitalization does, however, give you much more data to play with. So where you've got a digital journey, you will now have things like device profiling, behavioral biometrics, email and mobile intelligence. Of course, you can pass through the data from the electronic ID&V tools out there, and there's lots of bureau and fraud data that can also be shared. The challenge in the decisioning space is if you can't utilize all of your data points in that real-time decisioning window, it's a bit like trying to complete a puzzle without all the pieces. So you'll have gaps and you'll end up making decisions with an incomplete picture.
100%. And I know we talked about this not so long ago, but how are criminals using technology, maybe more specifically AI, to exploit vulnerabilities?
So, I mean, unfortunately, when you look at the criminal side versus the businesses who are kind of up against the criminals, the criminals actually have a big advantage in that the large businesses have lots of internal governance and controls that they need to meet before they can put AI in, and obviously once it is in, and lots of monitoring to keep it there and performing well. However, if you're a criminal, you've got no restrictions. You can pretty much use what you want when you like. If it doesn't work, they'll just flip to another alternative. So criminals are able to implement AI quicker. And I think most people immediately think about things like deep fakes, because you see a lot on social media now about kind of well-known celebrities being copied, and they look very realistic. Whilst this is completely possible, there are much simpler methods being used. So if you look at the identity fraud space, because criminals now can just purchase victim data online very easily now. I mean, it's as simple as going onto eBay and buying an item. You can choose how many accounts you want and kind of what, you can even pay more for a premium identity. So with that making it so easy, it's very common for like organized fraud rings to be able to use AI to try and circumvent the electronic ID and V solutions out there. So what they do, they start with a very realistic looking ID template. And then they would simply enter the innocent victim's credentials into the AI and include a selfie of themselves. And then the AI does all the hard work. So it transforms it all into the right format, fonts, and morphs the photo into the ID, and even applies the hologram overlay as a digital image that looks very, very realistic. Now, you think about if they've purchased kind of 50 credentials and all they're having to do is copy and paste that information over, it doesn't take them long to create 50 IDs. Now, a lot of the software out there and the tools that the financial institutions are using will detect most of this. But from time to time, one or two may slip the net. And from a fraudster's perspective, it's worth the wait. It's a bit like fishing, right? If you email enough people, you'll get a few people on the hook. If they do enough of these, eventually they'll pass the controls. Wow. So that's how they would use it for identity fraud. Think about the scam space. So criminals are using AI as part of their social engineering. Lots of these social engineering attempts might include kind of click this link and create a page that looks like a real utility company or a bank. Now, historically, criminals would have probably had to go and make them websites themselves and spend lots of time making them look as realistic as possible. Now they're probably jumping on ChatGPT and asking them to clone a genuine website, and within seconds they've got something that looks realistically enough for them to reuse it over and over again, or if it doesn't work, create another one. And then finally, documents. If a criminal is able to use AI to create a realistic ID, when it comes to kind of financial institutions doing extra checks like proof of address, provide me a utility bill, again, they can use that sort of technology to create very realistic looking ones of those, including whatever details that they ask the AI to include.
Well, frightening, scary.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thinking more carefully now about the text messages and stuff that I would get through on my phone. Like, what about Provenir's fraud solutions and technology then? I mean, how do you guys use data and AI then sort of to detect and prevent, fraud like this?
Yeah. So due to the flexibility of our orchestration and decisioning tools, Provenir helps our customers gather all of their data. So this would be customer data, data from within their business, but also including like the market leading endpoint solutions. And it enables them to bring all of the key data points together to make effective real-time decisions. So where a customer may have had to previously plug the gaps with manual post-application controls, say you had 10 data points that you wanted to include in an application, and your application decisioning solution only caters for 60%. It might be that the 40% of the data points you can't feed in are actually quite valuable and help you detect fraud. So because you can't get them in that real-time window, what a lot of companies are forced to do is manual controls after the event that you've made a decision. Now, it does a job. It'll help you detect some fraud, but realistically, you want as much of that data as possible in real time, because prevention is always better than detection. It's easier to say no to an applicant and never open the account at all than it is to open the account, do some digging, and then close it post-event. It's not. It's more cost-effective to never open the account to start with. Also, time and resource is a challenge to all businesses. And Provenir understands that fraud teams have a number of important yet time-consuming tasks. So we utilize AI to deliver automation within our platform, I guess to cut corners on the time-consuming repetitive piece and
Mm.
allow them to spend their time more effectively in terms of things that are actually going to reduce fraud and improve their performance. AI can be used to optimize decision strategies using kind of data insights and managing machine learning models. And because of our flexibility with partners, we can also enable our customers to use more AI tools because of the partners that we've got in our marketplace. And an example of one of those might be an electronic ID&V solution who are kind of using that technology as part of their product.
Okay. And for, I suppose, like technologists that would be listening in, could you tell us a little bit more about the tech stack and the cloud infrastructure that's instilled already then within Provenir itself?
Yep. So we're cloud native. AWS is our provider. We've got presence in 10 global cloud regions. So that covers North and South Americas, Africa, Europe, UK, Asia, and Australia. We've got a resilient and highly available infrastructure, and the infrastructure configuration and management is using IAC. We've got state-of-the-art observability and monitoring, containerized deployments with Kubernetes orchestration, intelligent provisioning and scheduling of application workloads, microservices-driven architecture, and a modern application technology stack, which includes Spring Cloud, Spring Boot Java, Angular, and Material UI. And then in terms of their day-to-day, they're focusing on all those things that I mentioned to you previously. So they might be looking at AI, machine learning. They'll be looking at our decision intelligence tools. So kind of how can we give our customers better insights using the data, using that technology. Looking at our decisioning tools, case management, looking at data cloud, and then continuous architecture enhancements and product maintenance. But as a company, we're continuously looking to do better. It's important to deliver continuous improvement. So that team will be very much involved with that.
Amazing. Well, with regards to the sort of future and best practices in that sense, where do you see the future of fraud prevention heading in the next sort of 5 to 10 years? Is there any sort of particular emerging technologies and trends that you think are going to continue to shape the industry? What's your take on that?
Yeah, so we started the session off looking back to 2010, which was only 14 years ago. So if we're looking forward another 5 to 10 years, pretty sure that AI will continue to evolve. You will see both criminals and the fraud teams having greater reliance on the automation. I think with the growing fraud attack rates, I think the fraud team will need AI to remove all those manual time-consuming tasks. I mean, if you look at the drivers for the criminals today, they can currently work at home, buy all the data very easily. The equipment they need to use is things that you've probably got on the table in front of you right now. And from a criminal perspective, if you was to compare being a fraudster versus like a violent armed robber, you're probably going to get a better reward from fraud. But if you're caught in both of them scenarios, you'll get less time being a criminal. And of course, law enforcement can only spend so much time chasing the criminals, so they would typically go after the kind of the top of the tree. So I think attack rates will go up, and of course AI will be used more by the criminals, but there'll be a big reliance on the financial institutions using them to keep on top of the attack. In terms of technology, I think we'll probably see the equivalent step up from what you could do on your BlackBerry to what you can do on a smartphone today. Again, how far will it go? Who knows? I think if you'd have asked people in 2010, do you think a phone could do what you could do today? Some wouldn't have believed it. So I think we'll see more technology come in, which will mean more and more challenge. And I think where we spoke about customer expectations or consumer expectations, I think today I think most people will probably prefer the instant and quick, but some might be happy with the old-fashioned ways of doing things or the slower approach. I think in 5 to 10 years, even more expectation that there's no hassle, no friction, and everything's automated. And then I think there'll need to be, at some point, I mean, there's going to need to be more collaboration. So you're already seeing it now. But financial institutions and technology providers, it's going to be crucial for more data sharing because, yeah, fraud isn't going away. It's getting more complex and the attack levels are increasing. And the only way we're going to be able to stop it is by sharing data more and kind of working together to try and stamp it out and make it as hard as possible. But Provenir are proactively working on these things now. The future does not allow for us to be reactive because criminals move fast and are already using technology to become even faster.
100%. Final question from me then. What advice would you give to companies looking to strengthen their fraud defenses from a technology perspective then?
So I think my first one would be to aim towards a customer-centric approach to data. So I mentioned earlier that historically, fraud data will sit in silos dependent on the journey, the product, the solution that you're using. And I don't think companies will be able to deliver results without moving on from that approach because fraud is cross-channel. Fraud could happen from application stage to the first 30 to 90 days of an account being open. It can happen on an account that's been open 10 years and looks perfectly good. It's really important to understand that fraud does not stop at the front door. If you think about when you're queuing up to go in a nightclub and you've been asked for your ID and you're getting patted down to make sure you've got nothing you shouldn't have, once you're in that door, no one's going to check you again. And banks can't afford to take that approach. You're going to have continuous monitoring, looking at behavior and looking at the things that change within the data to detect anomalies and therefore detect when there's been additional risks or new fraud attacks. I think another point is to drive value. So a lot of financial institutions spend a lot of money on endpoint solutions and all that data. And to my point a moment ago, you can use it once at the point of application, but if you're screwing that up in a ball and throwing it away at that point, you're not getting all of the value out of that. One of the things that we're working closely on is kind of how do we, at the application stage, you can't always have enough information to decline an account outright. Sometimes it will be a 50-50 split or on the fence and you're not sure which way to go. And if you take, I guess, a super cautious approach, it could mean that you're declining a lot of potentially good customers. So being able to kind of let them through with some kind of high risk indicators and being able to pass on that information to the next step in the customer life cycle means that the team that are managing payments and trying to manage kind of mule accounts, for example, when that first big payment comes in or a payment then gets transferred out on a fairly new account, you can utilize the information that you had at the point of the application alongside the payment information and put the two data sources together, and it will help you have a more effective fraud strategy and impact less genuine customers. And then finally, the last piece of advice, we've mentioned it a lot, and just continue to leverage AI. The businesses have lots of time consuming fraud tasks. And as I said earlier, being able to free up some of the time and invest in the things that will make a positive change will be vital in terms of keeping on top of those fraud numbers and keeping you within risk appetite.
100%. Great. Lots to think about, even for myself, to take away from this conversation. But look, that's all the questions for me. I just want to say, look, thanks again for joining me. I'll be sure to obviously tag you in the post and tag the business and things like that for people to be able to connect with you and learn more. But yes, thanks very much again.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Take care.